I have my clear contact paper, and I have an embroidery hoop. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pen or pencil, and I'm going to trace inside my embroidery hoop so that I can tell exactly where my image needs to go. Next, I have an old bed sheet that is really threadbare. I'm going to choose the most threadbare part of it. Again, kind of eyeball where my embroidery hoop needs to go, and then I'm just going to cut a section of this out. Okay, I have some stencils. It's by See-Through. I picked up on clearance, and I am going to use them for my project. Now, if you don't have these, you don't really need them. All you need to do is to print out on the internet some sort of stencil letter. You do need a stencil letter because otherwise, like if I were to do the bee, without it being a stencil letter, the center holes would fall out and I would just have the outline of bee, which that's okay if that's what you're going for. Now, as I put these on my contact paper, I have the sticky side of the contact paper down with the backing still on. I've got it taped down because it came off a roll and it's going to want to roll up on me. Okay, so I've traced my letters that I'm going to have on here. And I want to point out that I have done it backward. That's because this contact paper is going to be flipped over and stuck to the underside of my fabric, so that when I run it through, I don't know if y'all can see through that, but it'll be facing the correct direction. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of cut this out and see how I want to place it. Okay, so I'm going to put it right about here. I'm going to check to make sure that, you know, I've got, it doesn't really matter if it's straight right now because it's a circle. It doesn't matter. You know, you can rotate it any direction. But I do want to get this corner about the same distance in as what would be the corner if this were a rectangular word. So I want to get them at about the same location. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of make some marks to indicate that my line that I'm putting my words on is going to run from here to here. And that this R, I guess I could have just cut it straight out, is going to start right about here. And this R is going to end right about here. It's kind of hard with that wrinkle in there. And then I'm going to draw a couple lines, and I'm going to use my stencil to put my letters on. And I'm probably going to use like a, I hesitate to say fine point Sharpie because if you use that, I'm afraid that could come out in the ink, but I think that you can see the pencil marks okay, so that I can just do it in pencil. And I have kind of figured out about the size of the number I want to go underneath it, so I did this on some scrap paper, just kind of freehand. It doesn't look the best, but for what we're doing, it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and trace it on here backwards as well. So, now comes the exciting part. You're going to take an X-Acto and we're going to cut out all of these areas inside the letters and inside the number. You want to be careful not to cut here to join the parts of the R, because then the center section will fall out. You want to make sure that you have something underneath your contact paper that you don't mind cutting on. So I've got, right now I have my work surface that I use to clean up paint and things, and I don't want to cut on that because I am liable to cut through it. So I'm going to move it out of the way, and I'm just going to tape this down to my cutting board, and then it won't matter because it's a self-healing quilting cutting board and it won't matter. So I'm going to start on cutting. If you want to use a straight edge to kind of help you on the straight lines, go for it. Anything that helps you be more accurate just shows good craftsmanship. And so time to start cutting. Now, this is not going to look professionally done. It is going to look hand done, but that's okay. If I wanted something that did not look handmade, I could go to the store and buy it. I'm just going to slowly start to peel this off. Now, you don't want to peel it back like this because that's going to put as much curl into the plastic as you can get. So what instead you want to do is you want to lay it with the plastic side down and let that curl build up in the paper part because we're going to throw that part away anyway. Now the hard part is going to be getting this stuck down. I have a bug on there. Getting this stuck down without, well, he's gone now. Without anything getting wrinkled. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it in the center. And that looks pretty good. I could move it that way a little bit. Once I've got it down, I kind of don't want to mess with it. So I'm just going to start smoothing from the center outward. Get all these edges. Make sure I'm getting all the little bits of my letters. Okay, that feels pretty good. It's not sticking as well as it should. It's really old contact paper, so, but it doesn't matter because when we press this onto the t-shirt, it's going to be held flat between the layer of fabric and the t-shirt. So it'll be fabric plastic t-shirt, and so there's not really anywhere for these little loose bits to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in my stencil. Now, it's going to lay like this on the t-shirt. So we want to make sure that the flat side, that the ridge of the ring is on this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the smaller ring, actually the bigger ring, sorry. Going to put the bigger ring down. I'm going to look and make sure our design is centered somewhat. That's awful close over there. Try and line it up with my ink marks that I made. Kind of do that by feel. Oh, look, there we go. That's pretty close. And then I'm going to pop my ring on. I'm going to try not to get any wrinkles if you can help it. And then I'm going to use this little twisty bit here to tighten it up. Because we want it pretty darn tight. And to see how it's loose and floppy here in the center, you can actually take it and work your way around, pulling up on the edges to get it nice and taut or tight or whatever. And then I'm going to, oh, there went a bunch of stuff off my camera. Tighten this up a little more. And that's pretty tight. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. Okay, so you can use fabric ink or fabric screen printing ink, but whatever you use, you want to make sure it's suitable for fabrics. I'm going to use cheap acrylic, and I've heard that you can use this and either dry it on high or iron it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it with this textile medium. That what that will do is, if you've ever painted any fabric with acrylic, you'll know it gets really stiff. This helps it maintain its flexibility, and it doesn't feel all stiff and icky after you're done. So what I'm going to do is you're going to mix 2 parts of paint. That's a lovely sound. With 1 part of textile medium, and I just make separate blobs so that it's easier for me to judge the amount, because I'm not actually going to get out like a measuring device. That looks about right. And then you're just going to mix all that together. Ooh. And that'll take a couple of minutes. Oops. Okay, now for the exciting part. Boy, I hope this works. I'm going to take my printing ink and I'm going to load my screen. And I hope I mixed enough. Now with the real printing press, you can, a screen printing setup, you have a squeegee that is the width of a square frame so that you can pull once to charge your screen and pull once again to print and you're done. But I don't have that set up, so I just have to kind of make do with what we have. And you want to make sure you don't let it move, because I just let it move. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one arm to hold it down, because I do not want it to move. And I'm going to use the other one to start pressing my ink through the screen. And I can feel it moving, which is not a good thing. And see it wrinkling? That's not a good thing either. So I may have to try a different fabric next time we do this. I want to make sure I've got all of my design. So I can kind of see the outline of my letters. So I'm making sure I've got them. I can kind of see the outline of my 5. I can make sure I've got it. Alright, let's see how we did. Oh, you can see where it moved on me. So, but for a first try, that's not too bad. It would be a lot better if I had a real setup, and if I had got a thin place right there. If I had some way of anchoring it so that it didn't move, like maybe C-clamps on the edge of the table, I may try that next time. But, you know, for a first attempt, I don't think this is too bad. I'm going to cheat and take my finger, and I'm going to touch up a couple of areas. I accidentally smudged some red on there when I was lifting the screen, but all in all, I'm pretty satisfied for a first try. And if I can do this on the first try, you can definitely do this at home. It was pretty easy, and it didn't really take that long. Good luck. Okay, so, you know, earlier I had problems with wrinkling in my fabric, and you can tell my plate is actually stretched a little bit from where my plastic is stretched a little bit from where I had tried to stretch my fabric and my plastic together. So what I've done is I've cut out my plastic in a smaller circle than the embroidery hoop. I've got my fabric as tight as I can get it, and now I'm going around the edges with tape to make sure that no ink can come through this gap between the hoop and the plastic. Okay, my taping is done. I didn't really press down on the tape on this side because this is elevated. It's on the side of the hoop that's raised up, so I don't want to stretch my fabric out any. So I'm going to press it upside down, and then I'm going to take my hands and go around and make sure that it is really, really pressed down good so that no ink can get under that tape. I'm going to put my ink above, or my paint above the image, and then I'm going to again use one hand to hold it because it's going to want to move on me. And this is working so much better than last time. My fabric isn't all bubbling up. I may have to put down more ink though. But I'm pretty pleased already, because you see I'm not getting these big bubbles and wrinkles in my fabric, and I can kind of see where the edges are. I don't know that I got a thick enough coat on, but we're going to go ahead and lift it and see how it looks. Yeah, I didn't get enough ink on, but oh wow, I bled under. Okay, I think the reason I bled under is because my plastic got wrinkled when I stretched it out the last time I printed from this plate.